Well, hey folks, my name is Brad Martin and I have just arrived to a beautiful old stone foundation from a home up here in the mountains of Vermont. Let's take a look at it. Around the end of the 1800s, there was a home standing on top of this basement. It's long gone now, but hopefully there are still a few things left in the ground for us to find today. Now, the landowner who invited me here did mention that people have been metal detecting here in the past, but I don't see any obvious dig holes. There's no iron hanging up in trees or anything, so I'm optimistic we're gonna find some good stuff today. I'm gonna get my metal detector out, see what we can find. Oh, well, I'm excited to find it, but I'm disappointed about how broken it is. As you can see, this is, maybe half, less than half, of an old bronze Conestoga bell. I'm not sure if in the time they called them Conestoga bells, but we called them that because they oftentimes would be on Conestoga wagons. They come in a variety of sizes. This is a fairly small one, and although they were classically found on Conestoga wagons, up here there's a very good chance this was on a sleigh. In Vermont, the winter time is a pretty good portion of the year, and they would have been up in here on, you know, the classic horse-drawn sleigh, and these would have been on there, ringing as they went. Pretty cool. I'll check the bottom of the hole here, see if there's any more of it. I don't think there is. The thing about bells and bronze is the more brittle they were, the louder and nicer they sounded, and as you can see, this one did not crush, it shattered. So that probably sounded beautiful in the time. Really cool. This one was very shallow. You can see it was right up against this birch root, maybe a half an inch down. And actually I dug the hole and it wound up over here. And I dug a whole bunch of nails before I realized that it was actually out of the hole. This thing, I think it's a button. I'm pretty sure it's a button. But one of the coolest buttons I've seen. Look at that. The reason I say I think it's a button is because it does have holes back here, and it might be hard to tell, but they do go all the way through. So I don't know, if it's not a button, I'm not sure what it could be, but it's very pretty. This is probably very late 1800s just because of the stamped construction here. If not a button, let me know what you think. Well, this is kind of cool. I'm not entirely sure what it is. I assume it's just a finial, but for what, I can't say. And it's also like really crushed. There's a hole down here. It would have sat on top of, I don't know, like a bed, perhaps. But for whatever reason, this got bent, crushed, and discarded, I guess. Interesting. What do you think that was on top of? Flagpole? Chair? Since it is brass, it would have been golden and shiny at the time. Pretty cool. I just found something I'm pretty excited about. And I've been struggling with this place a little bit. Since it is, you know, approaching the 1900s, there is just more and more sheet metal. People here in the US became more and more of a throwaway society, and the ground is just full of unidentifiable stuff. So I've been kind of getting away from the actual home site a little bit, and I got a kind of irony tone, and I thought, you know what, I'm far enough away from the home now, it's probably not sheet metal, let's take a chance. And as you can see right here, it is a piece of iron, but it is a piece of gun. It's a hammer. Now, I actually have already taken this out, cleaned it off a bit, took a picture of it, and sent it to a buddy because, as you can see right here, it's hollow. And I knew that it was a hammer. I mean, it's pretty obvious that it's a hammer to an old gun, but I had never seen one with a hollow end like that. And he's telling me that it's a percussion cap, not like a flintlock, for example. So that is an awesome, awesome find. an old piece of percussion cap gun. Up here in the mountains, they would have been using this obviously to hunt wild game. Deer, back then there were probably still elk here in Vermont. Who knows, maybe they participated in a battle of some kind as well. I'm going to really concentrate and dig all of the iron in this general area, see if maybe we can find more of the firearm. But even if not, this is such an iconic part of one. The hammer. Incredible. Found a very common find for up here in the mountains of Vermont, given our history in timber production, but also the folks who used to live up here. You know, obviously this was a very important tool for them to keep warm in the wintertime. It's an axe head, but this one I find kind of interesting because, as you can see, it looks like the end of it is either broken off or it's just missing. And the way they made these back then, and maybe some still do, is they take like a lower carbon iron to make the body. And then just the tip will be a hardened high carbon steel that they can then sharpen, and it'll stay sharp. So I'm wondering if, you know, that part just didn't get fused very well and it broke off and it's somewhere around here still in the tree. Who knows? But it's kind of an interesting find. You can actually see where it was in there, but now it's gone. Old axe head with the cutting edge ripped out. All right, well, I hear that it is raining, although it is not raining on top of my head right now. It's kind of off in the distance a little bit, so it might start here in a second. But I just found something. I'm not sure what it is. It's pretty heavy duty. It's got a hole in it, and it has text. This is the back side, so the text will be backwards. Let's see. Lincoln. A very stylized font. It looks like this is actually a keyhole right here. I wonder if this is part of a padlock. You know what? That's definitely what it is. This is where the shackle would have been here. I thought it was broken at first because I thought this was a crack and that these were holes that were busted out, but you know what? That's a part of a padlock. So cool. I wonder if the rest of it is around here, if we'll be able to find it, but this is a nice solid brass. It sounded great on the metal detector. Really, really cool. Hard to say how old this is. My first guess would be in the late 1800s, but I guess it could be as late as the early 1900s as well. Beautiful. Interesting key shape, too. Well, this target sounded great. Huge piece of brass. And as far as I can tell, this is a spigot handle. And I don't know absolutely 100% for sure, but I'm fairly sure this went in with just friction held in place, and then obviously you would turn it. There was a couple holes here. You would turn it and it would let the fluid come out. But this would have likely been in a barrel, or possibly even they had a, you know, like a hand pump or one of those chain pumps to fill a reservoir of some kind for drinking water or water to wash the clothes or whatnot. There is not a stream really anywhere around here that I know of, so it would have most likely been well water. This is very substantial, heavy duty. Not an uncommon find, but a little bit of insight into the way life was back then. Old spigot. So I don't know what I have here exactly. I'm still a ways away from the actual home site. It's right behind you. And I got a target, and I was like, this is probably sheet metal. Dug it up, and it is sheet metal. But I gave it a wipe, and there's text on it. Now it appears to just be brass. It's not a precious metal. And I don't know if it's going to be, you know, like a baggage tag or what it is, but we're gonna spray it with some water together, see if maybe we can read the text and get to the bottom of what it might be. To me, it almost looks broken on the bottom here, like it was bent off of something. But as you can see here, there is a nail hole. So I'm wondering if this is actually like a product tag. Got my water here. Let's give it a spray. Oh yeah. So something that happens to brass chemically is, other metals too, I guess, is once it's struck, something changes in the material itself, and it will patina differently. So luckily, the recesses of this text is like a darker patina than the top, which hopefully means we'll be able to make this out. And unfortunately, I can't make out any words for sure except for New York. It does say patented. There's probably a date right here. It looks like it says spring balance? Perhaps spring balance? So far, it doesn't really tell us much. Well, hopefully by the time you folks see this video, I will have been able to read all of this. It does appear to be a product tag since it does say patented at the bottom. I can just make out it's, you know, somebody's spring balanced something or other, New York patented, and I can see an 18, so we know it is period with the folks that lived here. I'm not even going to take a guess what kind of machine or appliance this was attached to. But in any case, I always loved finding things that have dates and stories to tell. We're going to be able to figure out what this thing was and why was it up here, what were they using it for. I can't wait to find out. Awesome. That's kind of a cool iron mystery here. I'm going to guess that it's a tool, and it looks like this is the end that would have been inserted into a wood handle. We have a bolster that's built right into the tool. And on this end, it is flattened off, but it's impossible to know whether that's how it was when it was new. So I'm wondering if this was a chisel, or if perhaps it was a very old screwdriver. I don't know how common screwdrivers were for the home back then. If I had to guess, I'd say it was probably a chisel. So cool. We'll get this cleaned up. And if we can figure it out, maybe we'll put a handle back on it. Old hand tool. Well, very similar to that flower button that I found earlier, possibly a button. I found another item that is of the same time period, same construction, same design, this kind of really floral, ornate, Victorian design. And this time you can see, based on the teeth, that this was a clothes clip of some time. I hesitate to say suspenders because this is very feminine. Garters, you know, the women back then wore so many layers of clothing. Who knows where exactly this was? But visible, I would suspect. You can see we have flowers and leaves. Really pretty. I don't think that the flower piece we found earlier went to this. This is clearly the front, and there would have been a locking mechanism in the back, but possibly the same outfit. Really, really nice. It always amazes me how often we find these pieces of lamp. You know, obviously they would have been incredibly important to the folks that lived here. This was their source of light inside the home. But it's not uncommon to find 3 or 4 of them at places of this age. This one appears to be a later one, probably using kerosene over an oil of some kind. And this would have gone onto a glass jar full of the fuel. And the reason I'm showing you this one is because it does still have the adjustment, which you would twist to make the wick come up. And oftentimes there is manufacturer information, patent date, all that stuff on there. And a lot of times this is gone. So we're going to see if we can get to the bottom of when this is from exactly. Alright, well, up in the top left-hand corner I can make out MF Co., which would be a manufacturing co. Unfortunately, the rest I cannot quite make out here in the woods, but once I get home, I'll try to get to the bottom of it. And I was hoping there'd just be a nice plain day down there. Maybe there is, but I can't see it right now. An oil lamp. Maybe this one just stopped working as they wanted it to, and they tossed it. These were somewhat of a consumable item. Oil lamp. In all of the years that I've been doing this, metal detecting these old farms up in the mountains of Vermont, I have yet to find a ring that was silver or gold or something precious. They're always brass that were plated gold or silver. And you have to imagine the folks that lived up here, they didn't have a ton of money. They were spending their money on food and clothing and supplies, and jewelry was not really high on their list of priorities. That being said, I have found a ton of men's wedding bands that were made out of brass, and really only one women's. And I just found my second. You can see here, it is a very small brass ring. And sometimes we'll find rings that are like flat sheet brass. Those were like ferrules for hand tools. And sometimes we even find very skinny wire brass. Those were like gaskets of some kind. But this has the very classic ring shape. Very small. I wouldn't be able to fit that even on my pinky. You know, this is a fitting end for the day. This home from the late 1800s, we didn't have much. We didn't find any coins here, which is not a surprise. We found a lot of the typical things people had back then in the 1800s up here. And we'll end the day with a very inexpensive brass, possibly wedding band. Really special. I'm sure that it was sorely lost when it was dropped. Makes you wonder if it was the wife that lived here, or possibly even a child. So I'm gonna head on over to the cellar again. We're gonna get all the stuff out and take a look at what we found. All right, folks, well, somehow I missed the rain. I heard it. It was in the trees, probably a quarter mile that way, but didn't land on me. All in all, it was a great day. I found a ton of stuff. No coins today, although as I had mentioned, because of how much money these folks had, it's unlikely they would have dropped much, but I still found some pretty awesome stuff. I've got it all laid out here. Let's take a look at it. So as you can see, there is quite a bit of stuff here. All of it is fairly common for this type of place and this time period, and a lot of it I did not show. So starting over on the right side, I did wind up finding 4 oil lamp or kerosene lamp parts. As I had mentioned, they are a common find up here, and I have 4 spinners that I can hopefully pull some manufacturers off of. Horse tack buckles, harmonica reeds, broken bell, finial of some kind. I did find a whole bunch of spoons, knife blade. This I did not show. I'm not entirely sure what it is. It is a handle of some kind, an iron handle with a brass floral ended handle. Sliding back to the middle, we have 6 very standard buttons, as well as this beautiful flower. Sitting next to the suspender, well, let's see, we got a toe tap, a bunch more horse tack rivets, and then the things that I'm most excited about. The manufacturer's tag of an unknown device as of right now for me, padlock fragment, the small woman's ring, and then my favorite of the day, the hammer from a percussion cap musket, and 2 musket balls alongside, although I think these are too small for that firearm. Great day. This stuff doesn't really have any monetary value, but the connection that it has to the folks that used to live here, it belonged to them, it meant something to them, that I find valuable, and that is why I do this. A lot of this stuff I get to go home now and do some research on and learn more about, and that is one of my favorite parts. Every once in a while, though, you do find something valuable. Not today. Well, I hope you enjoyed. I want to thank you for watching. If this is the first of one of my videos that you've seen, I post one of these every single Friday, so if you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe to see more. I'm going to head out of here before I do get rained on. See you next time.